Okay, now I gotta figure out how to see the chat so I can do that stuff too. Maybe I just click on this link and mute it. Yeah, I got it figured out. Yo, we got it figured out today. Yes, what's up? I can't believe I got it, finally. Hello. Cool, I get it now. From now on, I know how to do it. I'm just listening to some Esperanza Spalding. You know what I'm saying? How are you all doing today? Let me turn that down just a little bit. Okay. Okay, so let me chill check. I can actually come to one of these. Hi, Vivian. Hi. Hello, Ariel. Hello. And hello, persistent coughing. I recognize your Discord name. Actually, I was looking through old messages the other day, and I saw that you messaged me, and I never got back, which is I'm very sorry about. I hate that I do that. Wait, you know, I'm really excited to say though that I've got like a. Okay, so let me explain the situation. I love this song though. Okay, so let me explain the situation. So I have gone through 3 assistants now, and they weren't really like formal people. Like, it was like my friends who I was like, okay, yeah, like you can help me out, you know? And like that's never a good idea. So I had like 3 of those. First one was in like November. She did like a little bit of work and then dropped off. And then the other person carried me for like 4 or 5 months. And then after they got FFS, they were like, hey, you know, I'm in a different place in my life. I'm too busy, can't do it, whatever. So, and then I got another one, and she carried me for like 3 months, but like it was just emails. So I finally got like a legitimate professional assistant who is redoing everything, redoing all my organization, redoing all my student spreadsheets, redoing my calendar, redoing like everything. And so we're in the process of doing that. And afterwards, it's going to be a million times easier to keep up with everything that has been going on with everybody. And so I'm really sorry if you've sent any messages that haven't gotten replied to or anything. It's just, when I started this with literally like me. That's it. And I never anticipated that it would expand to what it is today. Like, I mean, I think we sent an email to like 350 people today, like, telling them like that we'll get back to them and we have to like process everything. So I mean, there's just so many people, and I'm only one person, and I thank you all very much for being so wonderful about it, you know. Let's see here. I was literally just sending you some clips. Oh yeah, no problem. Oh cool. Oh, you re-messaged me today, or you're about to or something. Cool. Yeah, I was looking through my old messages and I saw a message from you. But hi everybody. Hi Night Mother. Hello Vivian River. Hello, Ain. I think that's how you pronounce it. You told me how you pronounce it once on Voice Together. I hope that was it. I don't think that was it, though. I think as soon as I said it, it felt wrong. But hello. Ooh, I love this beat. Ooh, she is so fat with her playing. Check this out. So last night, inspiration struck at like midnight. I was super hungry, and I ordered some food. And I opened up a new piece. Oh, awesome, Vivian. I'm so glad to hear that. Congrats. I always felt like the name change was one of the bigger, like, more monumental things for me. I don't know, because it felt really cool, like, going to a courtroom and then the judge hits that gavel and it's like, yo, that's the law of the land. You know, that's it right there. Good for you. Oh, yes, good. Oh, yeah, Anya. I knew it. I knew it was wrong as soon as I said it. Thank you for correcting me, Anya. Welcome to the stream today. We don't hear the music you're listening to. Well, I turned it off a second ago. But you did it first, right? You don't hear this? Oh, I see why. Hold on. Thanks for letting me know that. Actually, it doesn't really make any sense why that is doing that, but let's see. Oh, does the sound only capture when it's on this monitor? Wait, how does this work? It was working a second ago. I'll get it fixed, but yeah, so, let's see what chat's saying. No, you never heard the music. Oh, I was sitting here dancing. Elusive Ellie, welcome. This is the first time you've came to one. Well, I guess that's true. You're quite elusive then. Hello, thank you for joining. Welcome. You know, just while you're all here, I'm just gonna say, I'm only like 50 subscribers away from 10K, so if you're a follower of mine who's a patron and everything, and you haven't hit that subscribe button, Hit that subscribe button. Okay, let's see here. So I'm going to fix this sound. Okay, I think it has to do with the fact that I've got... Can you hear this? No, you can't hear that either. Okay, I have to go to settings. No worries, I'll take care of that. But this is cool. I finally got it working today. So I've got chat here. I can read chat. We're good on that. I've got my OBS here so I can like fix stuff. We're like super pog today. I can't believe it. I actually got it working. For those of you who have been to my previous live streams, I always mess it up early on and then I sit and oh, here we go. So desktop device is default. I see what's wrong here. So I fixed that and now you should have sound. Wait, hold on. Let me click. Hold up. Yes, you should be able to hear now. Exciting. Now we've got so much stuff ahead of us. Okay, so this last night, in the middle of the night, inspiration struck. I was eating food. Oh wait, let me not put myself off camera. Let me go over here. So inspiration struck last night. I was eating food and I was thinking in 31 and I just realized like, okay, so I was making a piece. Actually, it was part of Divinate. If you haven't checked out that piece I released a 31 tone piece this in the last like week and a half or so. And in that piece, it's like a lot of harmony, a lot of chord stuff. It's like an orchestral chorale, like a Bach. It's like I kind of modeled it after a Bach chorale, but like more modern with like 31 tone, right? And like lots of different timbres and stuff. So, but during the creation of that, I had like the entire chord progression and I copy and pasted it into a synthesizer, tuned the synthesizer to 31, and then I started designing this synth patch. And honestly, I fell in love with it so much. And but I ended up scrapping it from the actual composition. I did have some synth work in the composition. But so I realized that there was this big desire for me to make a 31 piece that's mostly synth. And so last night, I started it. Here's where we're at so far. It's gonna be so spacey and so vocal heavy. I think it's just going to be chords and voice, I'm pretty sure. Thank you, Elle, I guess. I actually didn't warm my voice up today, so it was the first time I've even started talking or anything. I didn't even try to sing or anything this morning, since my day, it's like a day off today technically, but like. Oh gosh. You can tell I'm not warmed up how I just sang. But no, I love this part right here. It sounds so, so nice. That chord right there, the neutral, ooh, the neutral third. This is an unreleased piece y'all getting a sneak peek of right now. In the process of creating it, but I'm gonna have this go on for a while. It's gonna like really build with the texture, and the voice is gonna like sort of have this like mantra that kind of like builds and like swells. Hi Rezi, welcome to the stream. Also today we should have lower latency than last time because I realized there's a setting to set it to lower latency. We are on low latency today. Next time we stream I'll try ultra low and see if that's cool as well, but we should have less latency from each other, I think. So just let me know if that's the case or not. Okay. What does neutral mean here? I love that question. So let me show you. Okay, so here we go. So in 31, let me just make it so you can see the keys. Okay, so in 31, we have lots of options for thirds. So for those of you who aren't super music theory, I'm going to simplify everything today because I don't want to alienate anybody listening. So in music, there's something called a third, and a third is a very important piece of harmony. It's present in most of the chords that we're used to hearing, and it just basically means the third member of a scale. So if I have this note, that would be my root. Now, if I have a second tone, that would be my second, and if I had a third, there's a third. Now, in this particular tuning, we get lots of different thirds. Check this out. We get this third here. This third is actually called the sub minor third, and it sounds so beautiful. It's very dark. To me, it sounds almost medieval. And then we have the natural minor third, which is what we get in 12 tone. And then a step above the normal minor third, we get a third that is between major and between minor, and we call that neutral, and it sounds like this. That sound should be super not normal to you. Like when you hear it, it should sound kind of weird and kind of off. Because in standard 12-tone music, we don't have neutral thirds. They're impossible. A neutral third is something that happens in between two tones. And so here's the major third. You're used to hearing that one. You're used to hearing this one. But you're not used to hearing the one between them, the neutral. And so I thought it was very clever that during the composition of this piece, I've got a bass line here. And the bass line actually plays the neutral third. We've got root 5, actually root third, and then a 5. And we keep the third, the major third, but we jump to the neutral. So there's this really, really crazy behavior where you're like hitting something that is like almost clashing against the other thing, but it like blends really well. And to me, that's probably my favorite use of a neutral third that I've managed to do. Yeah, I hope that makes sense to you all. I'm trying to really keep it accessible for everybody today because, sometimes I geek out about theory and sort of lose, I put the cart before the horse, so to speak. So I definitely want to simplify it, but a neutral is when you have something that's in the middle between two things. Oh, we got chat. Okay, subscribed. Thank you very much, Elle. I appreciate it. You're so music illiterate. Oh, don't worry. Most people are. Yes, I'm glad that you like the neutral third. You've only worked with 12 tone. You don't know how to process that. Yeah, I know. 12 tone is it's cool, but it's got its limits too. Check this out. We're going to go and check this out. So I have been doing some really interesting stuff lately involving really, really cool microtonal stuff. Also, I was going to play some piano to start. So I actually had like a schedule for today. I was wanting to like play some music for everybody. And then I was wanting to like take voice questions. And actually I was going to do a little lecture about something. So if you are here, I am going to do like a sort of voice little lesson kind of thing here in the middle to kind of give some people some voice content. And then I want to, after that, take Q&A. But first I was going to play, but instead of play, I'm just going to kind of show some things I've been thinking about musically and stuff. Now, check this out. So this is so cool. Let me get your ears tuned to some harmonics. So I've got some, hold on. So here we go. Where's my string instrument at? There we go. C. Here we go. So I've got a string orchestra here, and I've micro-tuned this so that I can play it in 12 notes. So you'll see these C's are octaves, but the 12 notes are not actually equal with each other. They're actually micro-tuned so that I can get all kinds of cool harmonics. Sounds like a train. Good observation. In fact, when you create the harmonic series, it sounds like a train. That's how you know that you're making a harmonic sound. Let me show you what I mean. Here we go. So here is a root and a perfect major third. This is what happens in the overtone series. You can hear the major third. Etc. Now, normally we would have the fifth down here too for the harmonic series. Now the harmonic seventh. Now we could add the next harmonic, the ninth. You start to see it already gets that train-like quality. It really, really gets a train-like quality if you take the third, the major third, and you put it next to the 11th harmonic. It sounds like this. Isn't that crazy? Ah! I love it! Ooh. It goes on forever. It's like it's just all over itself, wrapping around infinitely. It sounds like bending metal that's just like warping around itself. I don't know. And in particular, when I hear this sound, there are times where I actually build this sound when I'm like creating music. And I get like chills. Like I didn't get them now because like I'm demonstrating, but there's sometimes where I build like a beautiful J-I chord, and it just like gives me these geek chills like all over my body, and it gives like a full body response. That's a good sound. Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, that's the 11th harmonic. The 11th harmonic has this weird behavior. So in 12 tone, we're used to the thing sounding like this. Fi, mi, We're used to that change in 12 tone. It sounds like this usually. See, that sounds normal. That doesn't sound weird or alien, right? That's super basic. We've heard that in every Hollywood movie ever. But in the harmonic series, it's not that. It's this. Which sounds a lot different. That's the 11th harmonic. And it sounds so alien. I don't know. It's just so different than what we're used to hearing. Oh, well, we got a text message from my assistant. Let's see if there's a cool stuff going on. Cool. Experimenting with calendars and stuff. Cool. So anyways, yeah, that's different tunings. And the way that I'm doing that is I've got this here. This is my contact, and I am lucky to have it. Let's see here. So these are my plugins that I've bought for Kontakt so far. And what we have here is you have the ability to do a script which can micro-tune. Usually I would do a script that just does EDO. Let me move this more over. Usually I do a script that just does EDO, but you can actually micro-tune each individual step. So what you'll see here is, for instance, the F is now 50 cents sharp, which puts it with the 11th harmonic. And that's all I'm doing here. So you get this, and then 38 cents lower gives you this. But you can build so many beautiful colors. Like, if I change mode, there's a pretty normal minor triad. But minor triad with a septimal 7 sounds a little different than normal. Oh, you're used to 12 tone, you can't hear the difference. Well, guess what? I've got just a thing for you. I can easily skip between them. So look, I'll keep this as preset 1, and I'll make preset 2 be completely 12 tone. So now I can play the 12 tone and then play the justly tuned chord, and you can hear the difference. So watch. For everybody who doesn't understand the difference or it's too subtle, let me just go ahead and make the harmonic series for you so that you can hear the difference. Okay, so here's what we get in 12 tone. Here's what we get in the harmonic series. It's so different. Here's 12 tone. Here is 30, or here's just. I'll do this with some other chords too. So here is the root third alone. Now listen to it. So here it is in 12 tone. Really listen to that. Get it in the ear. Now here it is in just. Do you hear how it like buries into itself? There's not all this like chaotic wrestling. It's just blends. It melds. It sounds like one tone instead of this, which kind of sounds like there's multiple things occurring. It's very subtle. It'll be less subtle if I add this step here. Now here's the 7th. There's 12 tone. Here's just. Now here's 12 tone. That's 12 tone. Here's just. And we can add another member and we'll get more differences. So here we go. Now I've added the 9. So here's just. Here's 12 tone. I'll make it even more obvious. We'll add this 11th harmonic. And the 13th. Here's 12 tone. Here's just. Do you hear that? 12 tones sound so flat and dead, and when you turn it into just, it just pulses. You can literally feel the energy of these things like melding together, creating like stronger vibrations. Like listen, here's 12 tone with the same chord. Here's just. That sounds like you're like staring into infinity. It's almost, you know what? People have told me that when they hear the just chords like that they almost sound ominous or spooky. And my personal view and personal belief is that the reason people find these sort of inherently spooky or strange is because, like, this is like infinity. This is like a glimpse into like the coding of our universe, basically. And we hear it, it's almost unsettling because it's almost like too perfect, and it's almost like it's just too big. It goes on forever and it wraps into itself, and it's got all these things. And I feel like when people hear it, it's like it sounds scary and overwhelming because it's like it's overwhelming. It's like a scary truth of our universe. So that's kind of how I feel. I'm gonna do this difference again for anybody listening. So here's 12 tone. Now, just. That one kind of gave me the shivers. That one was kind of special. Oh gosh. And the differences only get more obvious the more I add notes. So like, watch, if I add another note here, I'm gonna add the 15th harmonic, and I'm gonna add the 13th harmonic. Or no, the 17th harmonic. Yeah, 17th. So here we go. Here is 12 tone. Now here is just. And this actually isn't a perfect just. This is what we would call just about. Because since I'm doing these by pure sense, they're not actually true perfect mathematical ratios. There's, there'll be about a half a cent off or a quarter of a cent off. So we call this just about tuned, not just tuned, So even scarier. Yeah. I mean, the more overtones you add, like of the harmonic series, the more metallic. See, J.I. has this metallic, buzzing, ringing, mechanical sound to it. And the reason why we associate it with mechanical sounds is because one of the only places that we hear it clearly is when there's a mechanical sound going on. I mean, think about it. When you have like a toothbrush, or I'll play a mechanical sound for you. Yeah, I know. I love that. Just about tuned. Okay, let's see here. So for instance, like here's like all the chords I'm playing are literally this thing, but only represented with individual notes instead of just individual sine waves. This is what I just played. A buzzing sound, and you can even hear the harmonics. Listen. There's that 7th harmonic. That's the 7th to the 6th harmonic, and I can do that here. Look, it's the same sound. Whoops. It's a different key, but it's the same sound. Woo! We'll add another harmonic. Let's go back to 12 tone and listen to what 12 tone does to this beautiful chord. 12 tones just sounds so fake. Now we drop it into that hot J.I. And it gives me like brain tingles. Like it's too much almost. So that's what this is all about. It's all about getting chords that pulse. It's not about getting these flat. I mean, don't get me wrong. I like 12 tone. I mean, 12 tone gives you this. And sometimes I'm writing music and I want 12 tone. So I actually use 12 tone even when I have the ability to write in just. Particularly this sound is beautiful in 12 tone. And this sound doesn't really exist in other tunings, like. It's like these kind of chords, minor nines. Like, that's a 12 tone only thing. You know what I mean? Like, I can get ones that kind of sound like that in 31, but that's a 12 tone thing. And in fact, I was working on this piece the other day, and I even have it starting in a microtonal thing, but it actually becomes in 12 tone. It's not in this track here. Is it in this one? It is. So you'll see here. Wait, I have to put it back in just. Okay, so I made this little thing here. This uses multiple different J.I.s, so I have to make an entirely different J.I. instrument for each chord that I do. So for instance, there's J.I. here in C, J.I. here in E flat. In order to get true J.I., I have to write in multiple different instruments. So, and then here's a different one entirely. This is a different one. This is the same J.I. structure, but on D flat. Like that is J.I., that ba-da. 12 tone doesn't have that. 12 tone has like ba-ba. It's a much different sound. This one's so just right there in the pocket. Oh, let me move it over so you can see it. Ba-dum, ba-dum. That's very 12 tone. This is cool. That's J.I. See how it vibrates different than the other chords? It's like things locking in place to each other. There's a different mode of J.I. So now I'm writing modally in J.I., meaning I'm using a tuning that technically only works for one key, one note, but I'm using that tuning and voicing it with the different notes, and I'm getting different chord structures that aren't J.I. exactly, but are like expressions of like J.I. in different ways. Oh, here you can see it better. There you go. There's a J.I. chord. Very interesting. It's a modal change. More J.I. modality. th harmonic to the 16th harmonic to the 15th to the 15th harmonic. Now I'm not done writing here, but you'll see what I was talking about how sometimes 12 tone is good. I actually have a chord here which is 12 tone. See, F minor, mostly 12. And I needed this sound, but it's impossible to get with J.I. So I actually used 12 tone because I wanted this texture. Now I think this is pretty clever. I've got an instrument here in real J.I., so you can hear it. And so what I've actually done is I'm playing the melody in J.I. while the chords are in 12. And listen how you get these interesting interactions. Which I think is a really beautiful sound when you have the melody in 12, but the chords in J.I. and or vice versa. Really, I've done them both ways, where you get the chords in J.I. and the melody in 12, or the melody in J.I. and the chords in 12. But okay, so I'm how about this? I'm just gonna go ahead and take some questions. Yeah, you're all good. Take some questions. I need to refresh too. Hold on, because I think my thing. Okay, there we go. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and open and take some questions. You're welcome to ask me anything you want, of course, as long as it's respectful, but I know everybody here would be respectful. Let me just tell this person I will probably stream for 1.5 hours. My last couple streams have went like way crazy long, so like I'm gonna keep this like somewhat not short, but I'm gonna keep it like realistic. Because I think the last time, I think our Discord voice hangout, we went for like 3.5 hours or something. Like that was like an epic marathon of talking. So, but yes, so anyone viewing, feel free to type your questions in chat. Either my chat is frozen or you all are just pretty shy. Oh, hello, Vivian. Thank you. I appreciate that so much. So yes, you're welcome to ask any questions. I am going to teach some voice concepts here in a little bit. But yeah, I figure I would just want some questions. But I mean, you know, if nobody has any aversion to it, I'll just keep writing music. I love that. Especially this melody in J.I. Listen to how it interacts. It's a little buried by the chord though, isn't it? I should probably bring it down. There we go. Well, that's weird. Okay, here we go. Oh, something retracted. Okay. Besides raising the larynx and trying to keep the tongue in position of the E sounds, what's a good trick for beginners? That's a good question. You know, this is actually a difficult thing that I have to deal with constantly. So a lot of people ask me for like tricks and like tips and like or like why don't I give like just I don't know. It's well, I don't really think there's many tricks or tips. I mean, it really boils down to the fact that you have two resonances, R1 and R2, and you can manipulate those. Now, whenever you're talking about raising the larynx, I saw a question the other day of someone who's like, I'm already raising my larynx as much as I can, and I'm already doing as much as I can with the mouth space, yet I still don't think I pass. Like, Okay, it's not just about raising the larynx. It's more about what your R1 is. You can raise your larynx as high as possible and theoretically have not a very good R1 because controlling the R1, and my video is a simplification. When I make the second part to it, I'm going to expand a lot more on that. But, the trick for a beginner is basically that, like work on raising the larynx because it gives you a visible metric that you can easily sort of determine if you're going up or down with it. But in reality, raising R1 is a compound process. It's a compound motion that involves... Yeah, R1 is the space in the back of your throat. So, look, here's an actual human vocal tract scaled saying the vowel eh, okay? Now, the actual human vocal tract is more like this. Imagine where this part here gets a little small. That's where the tongue would basically be pushing back in the throat. So the human vocal tract ends up with two pipes. You get this pipe and this pipe. And this pipe is what we call R1. When you raise your larynx, you are shortening the distance of this. But in reality, when you're doing the larynx raising exercise, you're doing a lot more than just shortening this tube. You're also retracting the tongue root, which is changing the volume back here. You're also elevating the tongue root, which is changing the space in the oropharynx, which is not really visible with this simple model. And you're also compressing the oropharyngeal wall, L something. L something and I had a discussion about this. I mentioned it to L, and then L and I sort of started, I thought I couldn't do it independently. Then I started looking at the back of my mouth, and now I realized I can do it completely independently. And it gave me a sort of an interesting burst of inspiration to explore new ways of exploring voice. But no, so it's not so much about just raising the larynx. It's much more about what your R1 value is. And what happens here is when we talk, this thing wants to change all the time. And so we have to learn how to not change this very much after we have a good feminine posture that we're maintaining. The vowel change most of the vowel change should come from the middle of the tongue here and the front of the tongue here for shaping the R2. So when people say yeah, I did 3 hours while sick, good call. So when people say things like, oh, I've already raised my larynx as much as I can, well, okay, then maybe they're missing the oropharyngeal closure. Maybe they're missing the correct back of tongue posture. The larynx is a part of this compound motion that we're actually doing, which is trying to be learned by using the particular sound. That sound right there expresses a posture of a raised larynx with a compressed oropharynx with a particular tongue position. So all of those things are achieved at the same time when you achieve that particular sound. And so people often get caught up in the idea of I've raised my larynx to the absolute highest possible it can go. Well, okay, but if the tongue position is not quite right in the back of the mouth and the oropharynx isn't quite closed enough, then raising the larynx, it's helping you, but it's not, your R1's not going to be fleek. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I have a hard time giving beginner level advice, because when I get a new student, and every single person in chat who has had a lesson with me and is a student can attest this. Literally the very first thing I do when I start with a student, we say hi, we meet each other, and then I start talking about acoustics. I teach them what acoustic resonance is. I teach them what the harmonic series is. I teach them this stuff so that there isn't an easy trick. You just deal with the fact pattern, which is you have two containers, and we have to shrink this container here to change gender, and we shrink this container here to change aesthetics. So I don't really think there's a beginner way other than the breath exercise to try and find the right R1 sound, mimicking good modeled versions of the female voice, at least when I'm giving examples or whatever. Those are what I would consider to be the easy kind of shortcuts. There are some other things too. But I find that if you give people shortcuts to try and boost on their voice, in the end, those shortcuts end up being sort of dampening their ability, such as, for instance, if you tell someone a shortcut, here's an example of a shortcut. If somebody comes in and they've got a pretty masculine voice, you can easily make the voice just sound more feminine by talking at a higher pitch and reducing hard onset, But then down the road, when they're actually doing everything else, maybe their onset is too soft now and they've been developing this bad habit for a long time. Gender to me is completely controlled by R1, and if R1 is not high enough, then you don't sound female, right? So it's you could give all these tricks and stuff to feminize a voice and sort of help it along in a fast way, but in some way you're sort of cheating the individual from getting true control at the same time. But then again, not everybody wants true control. They just want a girl voice and then they can go about their life. I get that. Okay, let me see. That was a long thing. What's the physiological difference between a smooth passaggio and an abrupt passaggio? It's a good question. I don't know. I'm not really an expert with source controls. So the way I think about it is in my brain, we've got two big modules. We have source module and filter module. And source module involves registration, involves pitch, involves lateral compression of the vocal folds, which is closure, involves the actual breath support, pressure, lung force, whatever. So I believe the actual mechanism is learning how to, I don't know. What I find is that when I have smooth between my passaggio, I'm sort of cheating. I sort of increase aspiration so that I can mask the changing position of the vocal folds. You'd be better off asking somebody who knows a little bit more about that than me, because my background, my expertise is in resonance, particularly interior architecture of the vocal tract, whereas like your average singing coach would actually know more about that, because to me, singers spend almost all their time dealing with the source module, and I spend almost all my time dealing with the resonance filter module. And of course there are wonderful singing coaches out there who know a lot about resonance too, and I don't know if there are any filter people out there who know a lot about source though. I mean, I know a fair bit, but I wouldn't feel comfortable asking that question with any degree of scientific accuracy. Are you still playing Melee? Yeah, actually, I had a friend come up from LA the other day. She's a Luigi player, and her and I played, and I thought she was way better than me. I was really nervous because she's like a player, and we started playing, and I beat her. I won a money match. I beat her like 24 to like 7 out of our games and stuff. And then last night I was practicing over on my CRT right over there. My tech skills getting a lot better. I actually think I'm starting to get good enough to where I can really like make placements at different tournaments and stuff. So I'm going to start to try and do that. I know that my friend I played, I expected her to be better than me, but she's like, I think you could go like pro at this if you wanted. I don't, because that would be too much time invested. But like, I think I can easily break into a top 200 in the world in Melee. And so I kind of want to do that. Let's see here. I'm a software dev, and you gave me some inspiration to seek out my own energy and make my work special and distinguished. I'm not sure where that's going to go. Oh my God, that's so wonderful. I'm so happy for you. I'm sure that you'll do an amazing job. I think that if your heart is where your brain is, you're going to make something that's unique to you, because you are a unique person. And if you're truly expressing yourself through the work that you create, it can only be unique, because you are a unique soul and a unique individual in this world, and no one else can ever create what you create if it's coming truly from your heart. And I feel that way about music. So let's see here. Let me catch up here. Oh God, there's so many beautiful questions. Thank you all so much. What's a hard-on set? Oh wait, hold on. Okay, R1 on fleek. Hell yeah, R1 on fleek. Let's see. Wow, there's so many questions. This is awesome. Okay, wait. Okay, I'm trying to get through all of them. We're shy except 3. Oh yeah. Turn the emotion into cat. Oh, I like that. I like that face. Yeah, I like the colon 3. That's like such a cute face. Okay. Been having trouble getting your R1 to stay in place. I mean, getting your R1 to stay mostly in the same area is pretty much the singular challenge of trans voice. I mean, you could say that there's a challenge for manipulating the vocal folds to be more open. You try to get the pitch behavioral. You can get the pitch contour to be a little bit better. Shaping the sounds with R2, which is a big component of the process as well. But at the end of the day, it really just comes back to that R1, as inconvenient as that is. But it's true. Okay, so there's that. And then, wait, I've noticed that not only do you have wonderful resonance, you easily hit high pitches that I find completely impossible. Do you have any advice about expanding vocal range? Yeah. So first off, I am a bit of a biological anomaly in terms of my vocal fold mass. My resonance itself, like my actual vocal tract length naturally, is well within the very middle of the Gaussian distribution for male voices. So I don't have any biological resonance sort of benefit, but I do have slightly smaller vocal folds, maybe a half a standard deviation smaller and less mass than the average male voice. As a result, this means that I do have a higher tenor voice naturally. I hesitate to use the terms tenor, bass, baritone, because those are vocal fox, and I don't really ascribe to that, but I know you'll understand what I mean if I say tenor. So naturally, I have a fairly high tenor voice, so that means I have a little bit of that going for me. But that being said, I've also expanded my range much beyond that. When I first started practicing singing, I could go from a G2 to a G4, and that's actually, not really a tenory place there, but I don't know. So that's what I could do when I first started, G2 to G4. And I guess I'll just go ahead and show you that on a keyboard too, since I've got a keyboard here on the screen, just to kind of visualize so people who don't know what G2 is, G4 is. So my old male vocal range would have been this many distances of keys, okay? Now, the average male vocal range is about this. I mean, I see students all the time who have like down to there plus up to there. So I've had a pretty much average voice. Female speaking pitch, just for a reference point, on average is like around here-ish, around this pitch. So, most AMAB individuals have a nice amount of range to where they can easily hit the female averages without a significant amount of strain. That's actually not right because I'm in just, so don't think the note I clicked is accurate. But, so there's that. Now, I've managed to change my range to become this. So I've lost a lot of my low end, but I've actually been practicing it and getting it back. But my low end is usually about this now, and my high end is usually about this now. Okay? So if I add my old range for comparison, you can see that I have expanded my range and lifted it very significantly. How did I do this? Well, I didn't know how to feminize my voice when I first started, but I knew I needed a girl voice or else I would hurt myself. So I basically practice singing higher. And I don't recommend people do that. But here's the way that I found the easiest way to expand range. First off, to get better vocal fold control. Oftentimes when people have a very limited range, it means that they don't have very good vocal fold control. Oftentimes you'll get too much closure or too little closure, contributing to like a ha, these kind of like strained sounds. We don't really want that. That's not a good look. And it also doesn't help you sing high. Any tension at the vocal folds really doesn't help you sing high. In fact, it kind of does the opposite. Kind of encourages you to flip into falsetto because your body senses the tension and your body's like, okay, well, I can create this pitch, but with way less work if I just do one little thing. So we try to reduce the tension of the vocal folds in order to increase our pitch. The other thing that I found really useful was I would like teeter. I would like teeter up and down in my vocal range. So for instance, I actually have a piano here that I can demonstrate this with. So you can probably hear that, right? That's in my headphones. Let me change it from this way. This is in 31, isn't it? Yeah, okay, wait. Let me go. Do I have any non-31 instrument here? Wait, microtone, western, equal. Okay, so we're in equal temperament now. I'm also going to go ahead and just grab a piano to demonstrate. I love Keyscape. This was the best investment of my entire life. I was on the fence about buying Keyscape, but my partner was like, seriously, just do it. It's gonna be great. And I did, and I've had it for over a year, and it's changed my life. Okay, so here we go. So teetering is a way that I have worked on my vocal range a lot, and this is before I really got feminine with my voice. But I would start and I would hit. So let's say, I guess I can demonstrate it easier visually. I'll demonstrate it with colors. Here we go. So bear with me while I set this up. And also, I know there's tons of questions. I'm going to try and get to all of them. I'm trying to be as thoughtful as I can with every question, like I always try. Okay, so let's say here that the redness, this little red color is the hard spot. The green represents the vocal range that I started with. Wait, I'm on the wrong instrument. Hold on. Sorry. I'm trying to do this good demonstration for you all so that you all know how to raise your pitch. Okay, so here we go. We've got this. Now, that's not what we want. Okay, so this would have been the lowest note I started with. This is the highest note I started with, okay? Now I'm going to put red for where it was hard. So basically, originally, going anywhere above this note was hard. So what I did to train my voice is I actually never tried to sing the really hard note, and I never tried to sing the slightly hard note. I started at the first note that I could do easy, but still was getting close to that spot. And what I did is I teetered. I went very slow and I sang a very comfortable note. So I'd start down here, I'd sing the comfortable note, and then I would shift up and push towards the uncomfortable zone, but I would never try to hit the uncomfortable zone. Then I would teeter back down, and then I would spend some time where I could hit. The goal of this is like you don't get anything or expand your range from trying to hit, at least in my experience. I could be dead wrong, but this is what I've observed. So I felt like I never gained any ability trying to hit pitches that were out of my range and too high. I gained the vast majority of my pitch ability by going a little below that point to where I could easily hit the first pitch that I could hit easy, I would hit. And the next pitch above it was a little harder. And the next pitch above it was a tiny bit harder. The next pitch was near impossible and then impossible. I would start in this easy zone and I would teeter and rock up and down into the slightly uncomfortable zone and then bring it down and make sure I spend lots of time where it's comfortable. Then I would teeter back up, try and reach a little higher, and then I would teeter back down. And I did this over the course of about a year and a half, and after a year and a half of doing this, I brought my high end from a G5 up to a C5. And what I noticed is that you don't just unlock the hard note. It's like it progressively gets easier. So if this note right here was the hard note for me, or the slightly hard note, we'll say the 50% hard note. After spending time rocking around in here, eventually this became only 25% hard, and then I could nail it. Then I started rocking around this area, and then all of a sudden, this one became 0% hard, and this one was only 25% hard. So then I would do the same exercise where I would rock around that pitch zone that was easy, but near the place where I'd struggle. Then eventually it unlocks the pitch above it. And so what I found is that if you just sit there and strain and you try and hit the high stuff, like, it doesn't help you. You go into the area that you can hit and you wiggle and lean into what you can't do, and then you come back to a safe place that's comfortable, that doesn't require you to push. And that helped my vocal range a lot. The other thing that has helped my vocal range a lot is learning resonance, because and I think singers kind of get an intuitive sense of this, and they describe it intuitively, but they don't really have the best terms to describe it. But certain resonance patterns, certain vowels, certain shapes, certain postures of the vocal tract literally make pitches harder or easier. Okay, so it's really, really hard to sing this high with like a dark vowel. It's just really, really hard. And so also part of expanding your range is learning how to slowly shift the vowel as you move through your range so that you're essentially increasing the efficiency of that tone through your tube. Okay, that's how I raise my pitch. Wow, there's so many questions. Hold on. Okay, R1 on fleek, yes. See, my understanding is that the larynx and the tongue were independent. Well, your tongue is multiple parts independent. Your tongue is like at least 3 or 4 parts somewhat independent from each other. So like, you don't just have one tongue. You kind of have like 3 tongues or like 4 tongue places that you can shift. And your larynx is, well, you know, I think in some degree, I've found times where my larynx is independent, somewhat independent, but I think it's not independent at all from the very root of your tongue. Every single time I raise my larynx, I invariably feel that the root of my tongue has like raised in some capacity. Now, maybe there's some exceptions to that, but pretty much what I find is that the root of my tongue is what drives the primary lifting of my larynx. That it's because the root of the tongue connects to the hyoid bone, and when you shift the root around, the hyoid bone slightly changes location because it's a floating bone, and so then therefore the larynx, which is attached to the hyoid bone, also changes shape. However, there are certainly laryngeal muscles that can sort of change the position, and I think there have been cases where I've definitely done it independently, although I'm not sure independent control of the larynx is very valuable. Now, don't get me wrong in saying, oh, you shouldn't have independent control of your tongue and your larynx. You should, but remember, your tongue is multiple parts. You should have completely independent control of at least the middle and front of your tongue from your larynx, okay? I'm just not sure exactly that having an independent control of the root and the larynx is, I think it's possible, but I'm not sure it's that constructive. So it's sort of like, yeah, you should have independent tongue and larynx control, but the part that's independent should be like everything here forward from everything there backwards, if that makes sense. Hard onset. Yeah, hard onset's where you like, you like punch a note really hard. I mean, if we're talking about it in the biological sense or the anatomical sense, what this is where your vocal folds are closed like this and you blow air through them and then you open them and then you make sounds like, That's a hard onset. It's not a very feminizing quality, and a lot of people sometimes have these. Yeah, onsets attack. They're all connected for beginners, but it can help to separate them in terms of theory and practice. Yes, of course, I agree with that. One point you point out on Discord is you're always tweaking, even as a long-time user and teacher. That's why you can do more subtle things and you can achieve passing, but then it's time to work. Yeah, totally. I mean, oh, I just realized I haven't drank any water. Hold up. Yeah, so, I am always learning and always changing. You know, like the other day I've been, wait, hold on. It's so hard for me to, okay, my, super fan, today I don't have a very, today I don't have a very good masculine voice. I don't know where it's at. The other day, though, I had a super fleek male voice. I can usually do the voice a little bit better. If I put on like an accent like that, kind of makes it easier to keep the R. See, it's hard because behaviorally I've normalized having a high R1 now. And so when I go to masculinize the male voice, the reason it sounds so fake when I do it is because jitter. See, when someone's MTF and they try to learn a female voice, the issue is whenever they raise R1, it jitters back down lower, and then they're like, darn it, I can't pass. But that's because of behavioral normalization. Now that the R1 is behaviorally normalized for me to be higher, it's like I'm basically doing the opposite. It's like I'm literally trying to learn a male voice as if I had a female voice. So it's like, it's just as hard as when someone first tries to, it's a behavioral struggle.
But yeah, so I'm always learning new things about, okay, there we go. I'm always learning,
I'm always learning new things about my voice, and I always want, and I always want to try and like have as many options available to me as possible. I don't really, I'm beyond the point where my voice is like part of my identity. Like, to me, voice is literally no different than like chewing your fingernails. It's like a habit that you have. And so like, you know, I just have more control over it. I don't know. It's but a lot of people really get wrapped up in the sense of like their voice being so strongly connected with their validity. Like, oh, I'm not a valid woman unless my voice passes. This is not true at all. I mean, come on, you know, that's not true. I work with cis female individuals who need voice feminization help because their voices are masculine due to hormones, due to sort of different reason, by anatomical reasons, whatever. Like, sounding like female is not a statement of you being female or not. It's a statement of the habit that you have with your vocal tract and the socialization that you experienced and the hormones that you experienced. It's not about whether you are who you say you are. And that's what I think a lot of trans people get, is they really get sort of stuck on the validity challenge. And I think that the quicker you can separate the voice from being related to your identity, I think the faster you're going to grow with your voice, personally, at least in terms of a controller. Obviously you want it, to make it truly normal, it becomes part of your identity. But okay, one thing that you point out, so that was that. I thought you said pistachio. No. Hello Samuel C. Sam, I'll say Sam because I'm sure that's not your preferred name. Sorry about that. Lynn, since we were talking about music for a little, WRT production. What does WRT mean? With, through, production. What's that mean? I mostly try to intuition it, but when it comes to mixing and stuff, are there things you wish you had known when you see? Yeah. Mixing is all about trying to create the harmonic series with your instruments. When you have a mix and you have lots of instruments occurring at the same time, they are creating thousands of frequencies which overlap. And it's your job as a mix engineer to cut the frequencies that clash. So for instance, if I have a chord that's got harmonics, 500, 1000, 1500, 2000, but I've got a snare drum and my snare drum has a strong resonance around 400, I'm going to get rid of that, because of 5 against 4, you're going to have like a harmony relationship in the frequencies themselves that causes the thing to be destabilized. Think about it this way. When you make music, at least on a computer, you're basically making an electrical signal that then gets converted to an acoustic pressure wave via the speaker. Now, this means the single most efficient movement of the speaker cone driver is as close to sinusoidal as possible. Now, as close to sinusoidal as possible creates the harmonic series. The harmonic series kind of creates like a saw thing, but when you add lots of them. But essentially, you're trying to mix your mix to have as few clashing frequencies as possible, which can make it most like a sine wave as possible, which then causes the speaker driver to be most clear and efficient in its motion, which then conveys to the listener the actual frequency content as clean as possible. If you have a really unharmonic frequency that's kind of muddying up the mix, that's what muddying up a mix is. It's adding frequencies in a mix that cause the mix to be destabilized because the frequencies are rubbing against each other, and it's causing the speaker cone to have less of an efficient in and out oscillation behavior, which then makes the sound more unclear to our ears. So when you're talking about mixing, so much about mixing also starts with composition. When you're composing a piece of music, you have to think about the mix while you're doing it. Like, for instance, if I have a piece of music and I have a guitar player playing the chords and a piano player playing the chords and a Rhodes player playing the chords, hey, maybe you should have less people playing the chords, because there's going to be all these people competing for realty. Another issue with that is so I'm in 12 tone right now, I think. Wait. Yeah. Another issue is when you're dealing with chords. Here's an example of mixing during the arrangement. So let's say I'm playing a jazz piece, and I have a jazz player who keeps playing this chord, and they're just harping on this chord. Like, that chord sounds pretty good, but if you're a jazz pianist, you would never, ever, ever want to play this chord unless you have a very particular reason, because the bass player is going to be playing the root and the fifth. The bass player is going to be doing something like root, third, fifth, root, and octave. And if you play the note that the bass player is playing, all you're doing is adding unwanted frequencies. The bass player's got the bass. And so now you'll notice it sounds better if it's like... that's a little too low. Let me shift this just a little bit better. Let me just take it. Here's an example. So for instance, if I'm always constantly playing rooted chords like this, they sound cool, but there is no reason, because the bass is going to be down here. So what you can do is just scrap the root and listen to how much clearer it gets if I scrap it. Now you've got an opening here, which the vocals can fit in. The snare drum's going to be fitting in around this area because it's around 250 hertz or so. The snare drum's going to be fitting here. The higher partials of the kick drum's going to be fitting here. There's going to be so much here in this space that is benefited by you just leaving out that note. And also the fifth. The bass player is going to get the fifth, so you don't even need to play it. So you end up with this kind of hollow chord, which now you can open and add different things like this. And then if the bass player adds the fifth, now there's a beautiful tone, whereas if you add the fifth here, it kind of just... the bass player's note sounds less important. So mixing is about creating a sort of puzzle piece-like behavior of the instruments and of the sounds, to where the frequencies of these instruments fall into place with each other and fit and meld together to create something that is most clearly like a sine wave. You know, there's actually an amazing video I'm going to send you, I'll post, that is literally the best video I've ever seen on mixing. And it's like a 70s video. It's like psychedelic as hell. I don't know when they made this, how they made this, who made this, but it is incredible. And I recommend to anyone interested in mixing to watch this video. There's a link to it, and I'm also going to post it in, I guess I'll post it in Coven, no, I guess I'll post it in Coven Chatter, too, if you want to check it out, just so everybody has it. Okay, it's really, really cool. So there's that question. Let me then scroll up. See, as a jazz pianist, I am trained to play rootless voicings. When I go, if I see D minor 7, I'm not going to play this chord. If I'm playing D minor 7, I'm probably going to play something more like, or like, but if I'm solo piano, then you see my root comes back in. In fact, a lot of jazz players play chords, pianists and guitarists. Guitarists have to do this too. It's especially important with guitar because you can really get a lot of mud from the guitar if you're not playing. So we call these rootless voicings. And most jazz pianists, when they're in an ensemble, they almost never play a rooted voicing. For instance, if I come across something and I'm playing and it says G7 sharp 9, instead of playing a G, or like instead of playing it like this, which is a box triad, G7 sharp 9. Instead of playing it that way, I'm going to voice it like this. I'm going to completely get rid of the root. There's no point. Probably going to get rid of the fifth too. Not really a point. And I'll play the voicing like this instead. And that sounds way funkier, way fresher. Where you got this like, then if I have a bass player, they can do whatever they want with the bass line, and they don't interrupt what I'm doing. I provide the harmonic context. They provide the harmonic support and the bass. That's the point of the bass. So, you know, if I was playing this chord, I might also play it like this, throw in the flat 13. Now it's really hip. I might even play the flat 9, but I'm going to play everything but the root in the fifth. Now I've got this cool thing called an upper structure chord, and then if the lower structure is added, then you get the harmonic context. You know? And then I would naturally then take it to a rootless C minor voicing if we were to do it that way. I would, you know, so C minor, you'll notice I'm not even going to have the root or the fifth or in it at all. Instead, I've got the 9, the 3rd, the 11, and the 7. So you end up with like this. Just sounds better that way. Okay, more questions. Oh gosh, there's so many wonderful questions. Programming is too much stress. Pro gaming, yes. I've gotten a good answer. I was wondering if you had a different perspective. Yeah, no problem. I mean, Kelsey, I would be willing to conjecture, you know, but it's like, I don't know. I'd prefer to be right. So, yeah, okay, so there's that. I miss having friends who play Smash. Smash is super fun. And then let's see here. Okay, so there's so many good questions. CRT Hog, programming too much stress. Hard to summarize, basically entry postures. Yeah, I run to the switch. Yeah, that makes sense to me actually, Kelsey, because I find that there's sometimes where depending on kind of what I don't know. I do feel like there's two M2 postures because when I do this, it doesn't feel at all when I'm like lower in the range. In fact, there's a particular point when I'm doing M2 where it feels like a switch mechanism. It's like when I go, I'll do it with a little bit more closure so it's more blended. Wait, maybe I don't anymore. Maybe that was just bad control. I don't know. Maybe I don't. Maybe I'm wrong. Okay. How would I suggest finding a voice model? I'm English, so I'm wondering if accent figures into anything. Also, don't really does. Okay, yeah. Accent does factor into this. It factors into this quite a lot. I mean, that's something that I'm always working on too, is adopting more resources for different accents and stuff. One of the things I'm actually working on right now is recreating every document that I have from the ground up again, but in particular recreating every document I have from the ground up again, and then recreating those documents for received pronunciation, which is what we would refer to as like a British accent, you know, in general. There is subtle differences. I mean, for the most part, it doesn't change the process too much, but it's cool because each language has certain strengths and weaknesses. Like when I work with my Russian students, Russians usually can get a really high R1, but for some reason seem to struggle with the R2, which is really interesting to me. For instance, a lot of Danish, German, Germanic language speaking students, their language is just darker, including the female voices. It's just a darker tone color. And so if they speak more English than they do German, and then they try to feminize their voice, they're going to think that their English voice doesn't pass because it will have the sort of inherent darkness of their habits that German has. And so I think a lot of it, for instance, French students are very used to rounding all of their lots of vowels. And so one of the things that the French student has to do to feminize French is they have to particularly practice what it's like to form the correct R1 behaviors while you're dealing with the lip rounding behavior that you see very heavily in French. So there's lots of little subtleties that we see. Received pronunciation speakers often have a harder time learning the R2 habits because one of the easiest ways to learn R2 habits is to use the approximate R and sort of watch its behavior as a sort of liquid/glide kind of sound. And so for people who don't have rhoticized R, so rhoticized means you make your R like so, you like squeeze it. Unrhoticized is where you don't. It's more like ah, 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 ah. Pot. I can usually do it better. Port. There's an example. Port. That's non-rhoticized. Port. That's rhoticized. Languages that have non-rhoticized R's typically have a much harder time learning how to do R2 behavior because then that means that the highest R2 behavior that they have in their language is actually likely an E vowel. And that kind of makes it a little harder actually a Y sound, never mind, Y sound. But typically languages that have non-rhoticized R's also typically have darker Y's, which is kind of strange. I don't know. So that's a little off topic. That's kind of, now I'm thinking. It's really interesting. But no, there's a big difference between different accents. But you shouldn't feel like it's limited you. I mean, it doesn't make it really necessarily, you're not disadvantaged, but there will be certain things that you'll be able to excel at because you've had the muscular training of decades of talking in the way that you talk, or vice versa in the other direction if you don't have that skill. Like if you speak a language that has a really low R1 and has no vowel and no sound that has a root retraction, it's probably going to be hard for you to learn to retract the root at first because it's like, how do you learn a feeling that you've never done before, right? Well, luckily for us, you do it through sound. Sound is the key, like I always say. Okay. Your question was how do you find a voice model? I don't know. Find someone whose voice you like, Do you listen to a voice, you're like, damn, I really love the way her voice sounds. Go for that, I typically haven't talked much about voice models in my voice lessons with my students, although I definitely think it's beneficial. Maybe I should talk about it more. But no, I think it's pretty healthy and constructive to have a sort of swash of voices that you react to and respond to, because then you can find, actually there's been a few cases in the past where I'll have students go and find voices that they like, 3 voices or 2 voices that they like, bring them to me, and then I'll analyze the voices, and then I can typically pinpoint the commonalities between the voices that they like, and then I can start to teach the students those behaviors so that then they can shift their sort of behaviors towards the commonalities that attracted them to the voices they heard in the first place. So how long would you sing these notes for? Oh, when doing the pitch increase training, as long as I possibly could, actually. In fact, I have a nice exercise. I basically give this exercise to all my students at some point and that's to try and sing notes for as long as you possibly can and set a stopwatch, sing a regular note, try to increase the length of the time that you're sustaining for. This is almost a direct expression of how efficient you can convert tone, or how well you can convert air into tone. Think about it this way. Your voice is kind of converting airflow that's below it into mechanical energy, kinetic energy that's then moving and causing the structure to shift. And the longer you sustain a note for, essentially the less leakage of energy you're getting, and the more efficiency you have energy being converted into tone. Now there's 2 ways you do this. Typically you're going to close up the vocal folds just a little bit more, because if you close the vocal folds up a little bit more, you're leaking less energy, which then allows you to sing a lot longer. And then you also would use, so it's about having really stable air to the vocal folds and learning to manipulate closure so it's not too tight, but it's nice and efficient. But basically you can think of how long you can sustain a note for as being like your efficiency index. You can basically look at that number and say, wow, I can sustain a note for a minute and a half. That means I'm really efficient. Or wow, I can only sustain a note for 5 seconds. That means I have some serious issues in the way that I'm converting air into tone at the vocal fold source level. And then you would want to strengthen that. I think a pretty minimum baseline for somebody who wants to consider themselves like vocally trained is about 20 seconds. You know, I think the average beginners are about 5 seconds, at least intermediates and pretty much all the students I work with who we talk about this stuff with easily. You can get 10 seconds with just a tiny little technique fix. 15 seconds a little bit harder. 20 seconds, 25 seconds is pretty good. And that's about all you'll ever need. I can do like a minute and a half usually. Sometimes it depends. I mean, I've done longer. I think the longest I've ever sang a note for is like 2 minutes, which is kind of insane. But then again, I'm really manipulating my vocal folds and my air pressure, you know, backing off on the air pressure, increasing closure so that I can stabilize like my lungs down here so that I've got a big supply and I'm sort of hitting the sweet spot of energy conversion. So I think that's a great exercise for people to do. And I kind of was doing that when I would practice my my pitch range expansion exercises. Thank you, L something. I'm glad that you found it fascinating. I'm pretty sure you did this naively as an egg just by singing. Yeah, that's kind of what I was too. I mean, I did this as an egg before I knew I was trans. I just knew that even as a quote-unquote guy, I really cherished the fact that I had a higher pitched voice. When I was a kid, everybody bullied me on like Xbox Live, and everybody in school bullied me for sounding like a girl and saying that I had a high pitched voice. And, you know, secretly I was like, oh, boo-hoo, I sound like a girl. Cool. But no, like that was a point of my identity as a child that I always enjoyed. The fact that I had a high voice and the fact that my voice was different than other people's. And it's interesting because down the road, I learned it really wasn't that different than other people's. I just actually naturally had a higher tessitura because of my behavior. I liked sounding higher. I identified with being feminine, and I was always a very feminine person and a very feminine child. And I kind of embraced that, and I think that that's one of the reasons why my voice came off as a lot higher than other people's, because I wasn't trying to lower it. I think a lot of AMABs, and I'm sure there are trans people here in the chat who can vouch for this, when they're growing up, it feels like you should have a deep voice, and so you almost act. I've heard so many students who said they actually spent time of their life lowering their voice and trying to sound more masculine so that they could avoid discrimination. So, yeah. I meant like independent as factors that affect voice. Like their effects are separate and additive, if that makes sense. I'm afraid I don't follow. It's been a little bit too long since I read your last question, so I can't remember what it was about. But you can re-ask it. Independent girl voice. Independent of girl voice, I've raised my voice over a period of course, and you can definitely work on it by itself. Totally, yeah. It seems I recall you once remarked in response to one of my vocal sirens a while back that I was moving my tongue when I was trying to write my lyrics. Anyway, I'm separating those two. Yeah, for sure. So if you're moving your tongue when you do a siren, it's probably going to be like, oh, yeah, or you're going to an E, or maybe, oh, like, oh, that's probably what you were doing, I bet. So, yeah, ways that you fix this. Well, use your ear and ensure that the sound doesn't change. If you're going to start it with the vowel ah, keep the vowel ah. If you're going to start it with the vowel e, keep the vowel e. Another thing that I can recommend, and this is going to be a big tip for anybody who's watching right now, learn to produce all your vowels with your tongue like this. Now, I don't know, there's a lag, so I wasn't able to see how that looked, but you might have been thinking, well, you're not even doing anything. What am I supposed to be looking at? You're supposed to be looking at how the tip of my tongue is completely neutral and relaxed. Look. Ah, e, It's neutral and relaxed. If my fingernails are my teeth, my tongue is literally resting just right behind my teeth. So delicate. I'm not pushing forward into the teeth. I'm not curling the sides of my tongue. I see a lot of students who do these like when they're trying to practice vowels or resonance in general. The tip of your tongue for the general behavior of vowel formation and resonance formation, it has almost nothing to do with your resonance. It has a lot to do with R3. It's got a lot to do with R2. So before I get, before the witches come at me, okay? It's obviously very important for the R2 behaviors and the front of mouth behaviors, consonant formation, R3 stuff. But for your actual vowel definition and your like R1 stuff, it has no relevance at all. Look. I mean, I can produce all of my standard spoken vowels with my tip literally just flailing wildly. And so what can happen is if we don't get that tip relaxed when we're practicing our resonance, we can get too much information feeding into our proprioceptive data stream, and then it just muddies up the waters, and it makes it harder for us to sense what was actually changing that made the sound change. And that should always be the goal. What did I actually do that made the sound change? I see this with a lot of people who have extrinsic neck neck tension, shoulder tension, jaw tension, face, eyebrow tension. You know, your eyebrows have nothing to do with the sound that you create. Your shoulders have nothing to do with the sound that you create. Your neck muscles, like your SCM, your steroidocleidomastoid that runs all the way down to here, has nothing to do with the sound at all. Your jaw tension, well, your jaw has a little bit to do with the sound, but when you do jaw tension, you're tensing the masseter here, just flexing it really hard, and that has nothing to do with the sound. So all of these things are extrinsic forms of tension that must be purged because they just basically muddy up your proprioceptive data stream to where you can get less clarity of what you're actually doing with your body. So, and that's also true at the tip of your tongue. Try to keep it relaxed. I think that was your question. I don't know. I forgot what I was doing. There's so many questions. It's wonderful. I'm almost to the bottom here. Oh, that's cool. Yeah. I really respect Nick. We're good friends, and I really think that he's got some good insight on stuff. And if that's what he said, I would definitely trust that. Generally speaking. Ooh, my bangs are weird right now. Whatever. There we go. Wait, nope. Fix them. A little bit fixed. You guys won't hate on me if my bangs are weird, right? I'm sure you won't. Because I love you all. Okay. That would be an interesting video, doing breakdowns of certain voices. That's a great idea. Good idea. In fact, I've been thinking about doing that, where I do like reactions to voices, because I know the React format's really big on YouTube. I wouldn't make it like that, but I would copy people's voices. I think it would be a really cool YouTube series where I sit here, I play some woman's voice, I dissect what makes it sound the way it does, and then I start mimicking it and copying it and try to get as close as I can while educating people about what exactly is happening to form that unique sound. I'm holding out on teaching you the secret eyebrow tech. Shh. Just so you girls are aware, the secret eyebrow tech, which my eyebrows aren't that good right now, but the secret eyebrow tech is you get them threaded by someone who knows what they're doing. After you let them grow out, then you have a super fleek shape, and then you pluck all the ones that don't conform to that shape, and then you get brow pomade. Where's it at? I don't see my pomade right now. But you get brow pomade, and then you... Hello? Where's my eyebrow stuff? Anyways, here we go. Here's the secret eyebrow tech. This is really big tech that can make you much more fleek when you're wanting to be fleek. So here's the secret eyebrow tech. You get this, which is pomade. It's basically like mascara for your eyebrows. Then, I'm sure I have it over here, right? No, not in that container. Then you get a curved brush, a sharp curved brush. I think I've got one over here in my bag. 1 second. Well, I can't find it right now. It's somewhere in those brushes, but I don't want to pull on the thing too hard because I've got my camera here and it's connected to like this music or this like microphone stand that's like got my makeup on it. But you're gonna get a angled brush that kind of looks like this. So it's got like the sharp edge. You grab the pomade, you get your eyebrows threaded, you get your pomade, you grab your little brush, you dab it in the pomade, and then you literally just brush the brows and reinforce the shape. It's the best. That's how you do it. Okay, We can't see in the glass the way you're holding it. What glass was I holding? Oh, the pomade. Yeah. I mean, there's not much to look at. It's just like it's a thin little container of this, like, mine's black because my hair is black and I kind of want it to match my hair. But I also have a light brown pomade in case I want to mix it up. Here we go. I found what I was looking for. So here you go. So here's an angled brush. You get a sharp brush like this. Dip and dab it in your pomade. Just run it across the brows. Shape it. They usually also come with eyebrow brushing tools, like so you can brush them, get them in the right shape. There we go. Then you can look super fleek. Like, personally for me, I do not feel on unless my eyebrows are on. My eyebrows aren't on right now, so I'm like, I'm just hanging out. But like, when I do my eyebrows and my eyebrows are fleek, I literally feel like a goddess. I'm just like, get out of here with that. You know what I'm saying? Okay, let's see. That's the secret eyebrow tech, Lynn. Oh gosh, okay. So there's so many wonderful questions. I think I'm all caught up. That's a good idea for a title, Deconstructing Voices or something. Voice deconstruct. Voice. I'd make a really sexy title for it that'll get me lots of clicks, you know what I'm saying? And it's cool because then it's not like a big effort that I have to like educate her. It's just like I can literally just hit play and do my thing and talk about a voice, and that's a video. So that's cool. I've been doing pretty good with videos. In case y'all haven't noticed, I'm sure you have because you're my patrons, of course, and my supporters. But I think I put out in the last 2 months, I put out 3 videos. I put out 2 videos in October, 2 good videos, 2 big videos. If you haven't seen them, I put out the spectrogram video, and I put out the 8 biggest mistakes video, which has been a really popular one. And I think it's very helpful for a lot of beginners and even not even just beginners, but intermediates who need to hear some of these advices. So that's been good. And the previous one I put out before that was, I can't remember. Was that the larynx one? Certainly not. No, that was the cute coughs. Yeah, okay. What? What do you mean gossip? Just to be clear, it's not judgy. Oh, no, of course I wouldn't be judging him. No. Here's the thing. I theoretically, I can't really judge voices. Like when you're talking about judge, you're talking about like morally judge or like a right and wrong kind of like quality statement about voices. I don't do that. I don't do that about sound at all. And in fact, I think most people who know me and have spent a lot of time talking to me, they know this. Like, to me, sound is sound, and sound is amazing, and I worship it. And it's like, there is no bad or good sound. It's just all sound. And so, like, if I was deconstructing somebody's voice and I was copying it, it wouldn't be in like oh, look at how silly this person. No, it wouldn't be that at all. It would be like, sound is amazing. Let's listen to the sound and understand the sound so that we can understand more about sound. Yeah, well, reaction, I didn't mean like, that's so funny. I meant like reaction, like, whoa, this person has a very unique tone. They've got their nose like more open than the average person. The way that they form their Y's creates a special behavior around their vowels in the front that changes it. It'd be like that. It would be like analyzing the sound. Just like if I were to do like a reaction to people's music, I would listen to the music and I'd be like, oh wow, I really love how they did that G7 sharp 9 into like the F sharp major 7. That's a really cool deceptive resolution. Kind of takes your expectation and subverts it. Like that's kind of how my reactions would go. They would always be very much about, that kind of stuff. You asked one about making behavioral things change and stick. What's the next video? I've got 2, actually. It's probably going to be overtone singing. Probably. I'm going to demonstrate some skills. Every now and then I like to do like ear. It's probably going to be an ear training video that's like listen and train the ear better, And then after that, I'm going to make my 2B. Well, here's the issue. I filmed all the B-roll footage for 2B, or not B-roll, but the 2B larynx video. But I'm just going to redo it. Too much time's passed. My face has completely changed. I'm not trying to release like a new video like of me like 5 months, like when I was literally forming my S's and Z's wrong. So I'm just going to redo that part, and I think I can do it a lot better, Yeah, that's true, Lynn. Whatever hits the keywords, I definitely, I'm definitely getting more serious about the YouTube thing now. I'm definitely into clickbait. Like, I used to hate on clickbait, but, I'm definitely feeling like it's good to have some clickbait. Not all of clickbait, but, like, it's really good because it just allows more people to see the content that I'm creating. You know what I mean? So it's like, why would I not just, I don't know. Why would I not title videos and put thumbnails that draw in views? As long as the content quality is high and it's not just like, oh, you've clicked this, now it's a completely pointless video that you got baited into. Like, that's lame. But, like, having something that literally engages people. Oh, my God. That's a... Lynn! Oh, my God. Voice breakdowns of other That's it. That's it right there. You just did it. That might be my next video. Something like that. Like, oh, my God. Deconstructing PewDiePie's voice. Or, like, deconstructing, like... ContraPoint's voice, or deconstructing like somebody's voice, anybody's, and just like talking about what they're doing that makes it sound the way that it sounds. Not good or bad, just what they're doing that makes it sound the way that it sounds. Wow, I love that so much. It's a great way to draw in like people who necessarily aren't even interested in voice, but are interested in like the YouTube stuff to a voice YouTube. Yeah, exactly. I agree with that, Sam. Having like a balance between videos. Yeah. And that's kind of what I've been doing is sort of like the way I've been thinking about my YouTube career is like more like jab, jab, hook. I read a book a long time ago for social media marketing. And so what I try and do is I try and release like 2 pieces of micro content like micro content, meaning like not the primary thing people come to my channel for, but it's like really good content. That's what I want, right? So it's like I release like really good pieces of content that might not be exactly what everybody wants, and then I followed up with a big piece of content that's exactly what everybody wants. You know what I mean? And that's kind of how I've been trying to do it. It's but really I feel like I just want to make more stuff. So I'm probably going to be, which I kind of have already. I mean, I've put out 2 videos this month, and I'm about to release probably another one in the next maybe week and a half or so. So, but no, I really love the idea of that reacts to voices, like certain voices of people. Gosh, I have to pee really, really bad. So I'm going to be right back for in 2 seconds. I have to go pee. And then I also got to take my HRT. So be right back. 1 second. Okay, I am.
I'm back. Wait, no.
I suck so bad at doing guy voices. Like, usually I don't. I don't know. The last couple days I've been pretty good at it, but right now, Z is gone post 12 tet. I see you posted 12 tet there. Get down! No, I'm just kidding. Oh, I feel so much better after urinating. Wow. Dang. It's a heck of a feeling. I literally feel so much better. I guess I had to pee pretty bad for a while. Nah, I don't believe that. You're not bad at girl voices. You all realize it took me like over a year of practice before I even made like a single little notch of progress forward, right? So I mean, just kind of absorb that. You know what I mean? Like, now that's not going to be you. I had no instruction. I had no advice. There's nothing out there that I thought was good. So I kind of just spun my wheels for a very long time. But like, you know, it's a skill. Like it's a skill. So if you started playing acoustic guitar, you wouldn't like beat yourself up over the fact that you couldn't, play like your favorite song on guitar like a couple months or half a year into the process, right? Like it's something that's going to take time, and that it can be discouraging when you recognize that fact, but at the same time it can also be empowering. Like you don't have to judge yourself against the end result. Like people always, I see this trend of trans people who they practice and they hear their voice and they're immediately asking themselves, well, do I sound female or not? Well, I mean, that's the goal. What other things do you do where the moment you start something new, you're already evaluating yourself against the end goal? Like think about it. If you're, for instance, if you want to read a book, after you read the first page, you don't go, damn, I don't have the book read yet. That sucks. I need to read the book. Like, no, this doesn't make any sense. We only do that for this because we only do it for this because we have it intrinsically connected to our identity in a really complex way. And that's why it's so emotional. It's dysphoria. It's dysphoria. And there's no easy solution to dysphoria. If there was an easy solution to it, we all here today would not be connected through this shared experience of what we experience. But I mean, just think about it like that. Yeah, with a book, you can watch the page numbers go by. But here's the thing. With a voice, you can do that same thing too. But only if you actually measure your progress incrementally. Like when you're doing an exercise and ask yourself, did I achieve the exercise? Did I manage to make my voice a little brighter? Did I manage to make a little bit of improvement in my pitch today? But what happens is when you go to practice, if the initial thing that you immediately ask and respond to when you hear your voice is this female or not? Then you don't even give yourself a chance to see the page numbers, It's like it oh, yeah. Good. So behavioral tips for getting over behavioral barriers. Yeah, a few things. I think that behavioral barriers come in multiple forms. I think there are behavioral barriers that are created by poor technique, and it's hard to behaviorally adapt something or adopt something which isn't a healthy and foundational technique that works. So I think that you can have behavioral issues from a technique perspective, but that's not really what you're asking about. I think the behavioral barriers in terms of pure behavior that I see are more mental, psychological, where you have an anticipation that the process is going to be too hard for you, or the process is going to be difficult for you, or you open your voice and you get paralyzed with the sound of it. And I think that there is no easy solution to overcoming these behavioral barriers because they're psychological opinions. They're literally your internal identity and opinion about what you're doing. So how do you change that? Well, I think that you can do some really healthy deconstructing of your beliefs. And that was really important for me. And for an example, anecdotally, I'll just describe what I experienced. So I started practicing my voice and I got zero change forever. Like it was like at least like 9 months before I even got on the road to trying to get a better voice. Pretty much all of it was internalized transphobia. I would go to practice and I would sit in front of my microphone and I would hit record, and my goal was to just record myself every day of practicing and just try to do it that way. That's all I knew. There's no good resource out there. I was just like, I'm just going to try and do this every day and we'll see what I can figure out. I had no clue. It was very scary. And I would go and I would sit down and I would open my mouth. Nothing would come out. I've told this story to numerous people. There might even be students lurking in chat who've heard this story, but it's true. That's why I tell it. So I would open my mouth and nothing would even come out. Like I couldn't even get a little peep to come out, And then I thought it took me like 3 or 4 months of doing that nonstop before I was like, okay, what's really going on here? And then I realized it was internalized transphobia. The only way that I could practice my voice was when I felt that I looked feminine enough to practice my voice. So what I would do is I would have to take like 2 hours. This was pre-HRT, I had a full beard. Like I would take like 2 hours, shave my whole face, shave my whole body, do my makeup the best I could. I had no clue what I was doing. I would try and do my best style, my best fashion, my best outfit. I'd try to look as presentable as possible. For what? So that I could go in my studio and practice my voice. Because opening my mouth and trying to make a feminine voice without doing all of that was literally impossible to me. And then I started thinking for a long time later on why it was like that. It was internalized transphobia. I felt on some degree internally, I still saw myself as male in a way that was like, or not male, but like as like a man, like in a very hostile, a very vicious, non-constructive, harmful, self-harming way. And then I started thinking, why? Okay, well, it's the way I look. Okay, cool. But what connection does that have to do with voice? And then I realized that I almost needed permission to practice my voice. It was like the incongruence between me trying to do a femme voice while looking masculine was like paralyzing for me. And then I started asking, well, why? I kept asking why. And I realized it's because society had conditioned me and hard-coded me from my childhood and birth that I'm a boy and I'm not allowed to be feminine. And that thing right there, that conditioning was what created my behavioral block that stopped me for over a year from progressing in any measurable sense of the way. So like, I think that if you're experiencing a very serious behavioral block, an emotional block, a psychological barrier to voice, I think it's time to deconstruct your beliefs. I really think that you have to look internally, not externally. This doesn't involve voice. This involves your views on yourself and what society is and what sex is and what gender is and what your dysphoria is and who you are and how you fit into society. And I think that you can deconstruct that in a very healthy and constructive way. And once you sort of can identify like there's that conditioning there, you can then start to work beyond that, and I don't know if that's exactly the answer you're looking for, but that's the behavioral block I experienced. Other people experience behavioral blocks like, they're afraid that their parents will hear them even though their parents know that they're trans and stuff and they're supported and stuff. And I think the way that you overcome that behavioral barrier is exposure therapy. I think you set your parents down. You say, if they're supportive of you and they're like, yeah, we believe in you, like we want to see you succeed or whatever. You're like, okay, sit down with me, and I'm going to try and do my best fem voice for you. And even if it's not bad, even if it's not good, you'll just support me and you'll still love me. And I think that's something that if you have supportive parents or supportive friends, you can do. I think that you can make a moment out of creating an accepting and supportive and safe space for you to try and use your voice. And that's another thing on my server. That's a great place for you to try and overcome a behavioral barrier. You're with your sisters. We're all here. We're all doing the same thing. Like, it's a safe space for you. The space is there for you to not have a perfect voice. That so many people just want to wait till they get a perfect voice, then start using it with other people. And that's not how this process works. You need to start using your voice even when it's haphazard, even when it's on sometimes, off sometimes, so that you can start to behaviorally integrate these movements into what you're creating. There's some other dimensions to it, but I really do think that most of the behavioral blocks that people experience are deep conditionings from society. I know that even just like wearing girls' clothes, or even, I remember, here's an example. This is so crazy to me. When I first started my transition, the first time I ever tried to shop for women's clothing, I had like a full-blown panic attack. Like, it was horrible. Even just being in that shop, like next to those things, caused me anxiety. Like, why? They're fabrics. They're literally fabrics in a store. Then the whole point of the store is people go in and buy those goods. So why did I feel literally panicked to the highest degree ever? Why would I feel that way? Because society deeply conditioned me from birth that I am something that is not allowed to have or participate in a certain something else. And it wasn't until I deconstructed that behavior did a lot of the internal baggage that I carried around with me for years go away. And I think that part of someone's and I think there's some people who go and transition for, they've been transitioned for 10, 15, 20 years, and they have not deconstructed this baggage. I don't think that this baggage deconstructs itself. I think that you really have to take a proactive stance of getting inside yourself, getting inside your own mind, and trying to heal the wounds that society has scarred us with. That's what I think. Let me see what comments we got here. Sorry, that was a little, that's what I experienced, and that's what I really believe. I don't know how you did 9 months without going insane. Well, I was going insane. I mean, I didn't start my transition until I was literally at my breaking point where I was fantasizing about killing myself hours per day. Trigger warning. And if there's anybody who's thinking about self-harm out in the video call right now, you can reach out to anybody in the server. I'm sure we would all love to talk to you and help you through what you're experiencing. I'm sure most of us have experienced thoughts like that before, and those are not healthy, those are not constructive, and you have a support network that you can tap into if you need to get those thoughts off your chest and if you need to reach out for help. So that's what I want to say about suicide. But, I was at my breaking point. I was, Vivian. That's kind of why I was already gone. I already went insane long before that point, and it was transition for me was the literal last possible thing I could do in my life, to keep myself, not where I, to not going down that scary road. Yeah, I agree with that. Totally. Yeah, Kelsey, I'm so glad that you said that. This opens up an entire another thing. You said, so Kelsey says, since I'm a little behind in chat, she says, I was only really able to work on my voice after some friends, let me just put my glasses on so I can read a little better. Okay. I was really only able to work on my voice after some friends complimented, let me move that over there. After my friends complimented it and for being feminine already, as I say, yeah, okay. Yeah, totally. Well, I'll tell you what, I've also told this story a million times, literally, a million times already to all my students. I also should make YouTube videos of me telling the stories about my, a sort of overview of how my voice changed. That'd be a cool YouTube content idea too. So, I had this friend, Bobby. We're still friends. Bobby and I are we've been pretty much best friends since we were in third grade. We're a little bit less close friends now just because, I don't know, we're just kind of live far away. So, but we're still friends and we still talk and stuff. And, so he was my gaming friend. We grew up playing games, grew up being competitive, grew up playing music. He was very much it was in a way there was this weird romantic, he sensed that I was a girl and I kind of was latched onto him, there's even pictures of us that are It's really clear there's like something going on there. We never, when we were kids, we never did anything, but like he sensed my like femme energy. Everybody did when I was a kid. So anyways, though, we were playing a video game. We were playing Overwatch, and I had been practicing my voice for like a year and a half now. At that point, I had 2 push-to-talk buttons, a tab key, which was to Discord, and a caps lock key, which was to Overwatch, the players in the team. Well, he kept pushing me. He's like, Zizzy, you should use your voice. Use your girl voice. It sounds fine. Do it. And I'm like, no, literally, it sounds fucking gross. I literally sound like a disgusting man. Like, I'm never going to pass. My voice sucks. It's trash. I'm terrible at doing this. Literally, it's no hope for me. I'm going to have to quit music. I can't even do a femme voice. Those are literally what I told myself every day, So, and look where I am now. It's like, that's why I try to pound it through my students' heads, like, the biggest enemy is your own psychology around this process. And let me continue the story too. So, I told him, no, my voice is terrible. It'll never pass, blah, blah, blah. He says, just do it. He says, what are you going to lose? He's like, what do you have to lose? Literally. You open it. Sounds bad. Okay. That's it. That's all. That's the worst thing that happens. I'm like, okay, you know what? You're right. So, I have both my push-to-talk keys. I turn them off, there's no sound going. I practice my voice. Heat from fire. I was already heat from firing back then. So, I heat from fire myself into a beautiful voice. Then I hit that caps lock key and I open up and I'm like, all right, I'm going to play like Genji or whatever. I forget what I said, right? And then everybody in the game was like, oh my God, that's a female. Oh my God, that's a girl. There's a girl in our game. Holy crap. There's no girls that play Overwatch. Whoa, cool. And literally it was like the biggest, earth-shattering outcome ever. Because, I was 100% certain, 100% certain that my voice sounded completely male. But yet, an entire group of strangers literally perceived me as female. And that was the turning point for my voice. After that happened, I became obsessed with using what I had. Even though it wasn't perfect, and it's improved a lot since then, I became obsessed because I looked completely masculine. I was very early in my transition, but I had this thing that allowed me to be seen as I was by random strangers on the internet. So then, I switched to Counter-Strike because Counter-Strike had games of 40 people. And I would join these servers, custom servers where people jump and surf and, play cops and robbers and just have fun, short little games like that. And then I started using my voice in that and I collected a sort of army of orbiters who would give me skins and send me money on PayPal just for hanging out with them, right? And that was to me, whoa. I still heard my voice as male during this time where there were literally an army of boys offering me skins and offering me things. They're like, oh my God, your voice sounds so cute. And that's also why my voice ended up so feminine, by the way, because I was reacting to feedback from cis men. And so I would get more positive feedback if my voice was more feminine, right? Because sexism. So I would kind of push my voice in a more feminine direction because that confirmed that I would get not only gendered but get reactions from men and that I was the correct sex that I identify as. And not only that, but also in a beautiful, attractive, and adorable voice, And to me, that was earth-shattering because here I literally thought that I sounded dead-ass like a man, but I didn't. And that was one of the most revelatory things to me. And it made me realize how trans people almost always perceive themselves as way worse than what they really are in whatever they're doing. And this is a huge issue. I mean, there is no shortage of trans girls on any trans voice server who have completely passing voices, who are psychologically attacking themselves, saying that they sound like men, despite completely sounding like women. I've had students that do that too, They're like, what else can I do to my voice? I'm like, well, we can keep improving your voice and pushing it further, but you're way beyond sounding like a girl. You already sound like a girl. You just don't know that. You just can't feel that. And then they're too nervous to use it with other people, so they don't get that external validation and that external feedback. And then they're stuck in this loop of, well, I think I sound like a man, but I'm like, no, you sound like a girl. And they're like, well, I never get gendered female. I'm like, well, that's because you never use your girl voice. Use your girl voice. That's a psychological feedback loop that's really hard to break, but that's part of it. Okay. Army of orbiters. Yeah, that's funny. I'm sorry if I harmed you, persistent. I'm really sorry. I was hoping to be somewhat empowering. It's real. But yeah, I might even take some cuts of this video, Kelsey. I feel like there's been a lot of really good, healthy discussion going on. I mean, I was going to play piano for 30 minutes, do a little voice thing for 30 minutes, and then take questions for 30 minutes. But I've basically been taking questions for an hour and a half now. So there's a lot of good stuff in here. You had the exact, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. It hits close to home because we have a shared experience, you know, like I have a lot of trans friends now, and I always thought, you know, like, oh, I'm gonna pass, get stealth, and I'm only gonna, you know, I'm not gonna like, I'm gonna leave the trans community. I realized that that's just not realistic. Like, I have a shared experience with all of you, most of you. I'm sure there's some cis people lurking, but like, I have a shared experience with all of you. It's like I could go and hang out with a bunch of cis people and have fun and, you know, but it's like they don't have this unity thing that's there between us. Like, they didn't experience soul-crushing pain in society, like scarring them and wounding them every day of their life with like their expectations of what we're supposed to be and what we're supposed to do. And then when we decide that we actually want to be ourselves and do what we want, then we have to face all this discrimination, all this judgment, you know, and we have to work really hard to basically pass the best we can so that we can avoid all this discrimination. It's so unfair. It's vicious, and you know, and so it helps a lot to have people who have that shared experience that we can all learn from each other and help each other and support each other and let each other know that, hey, like, you determine what you are. Society doesn't. Like, you're totally valid. You're totally good. Like, you know, society's wrong, not us. Oh, yeah, I know. It's really hard. Yeah, I mean, let me explain. Vivian, let me just take a moment on that. Voice training isn't hard. It's not. But that doesn't make your experience invalid, because dysphoria is hard. The thing that you're struggling with voice is not voice. It's dysphoria that's making it so that you feel pain when you do voice, okay? It's really important to separate those, because you'll realize that there's the component of the behavior, the component of the technique, and the component of psychology. So voice training is not hard. Managing the pain and the emotion and the sensation of dysphoria when you go to do a voice, that is what you're saying is hard. Really, the voice is as easy as making sound. Ah, and changing it however you want. Anybody can do that. Literally, you can pick a person off the street who has zero background. I can say, do this, yeah, and that's resonance change. You know, it's like we all do that naturally. The part that's hard for us is to parse out this internal pain that we feel about this from the actual technique, which is an external, non-pain causing experience. You know, so voice training is not hard. The pain and the dysphoria is hard. And the sooner that we can identify that there is a difference between training your voice and interacting with the dysphoria in that process, the sooner that we can realize that those things don't have to be connected, it's hard, easier said than done, I know, but the sooner that we can realize that they're like disconnected, the easier and the more freeing it will be to do voice, because you'll realize that there is a possible universe, a possible timeline where you can do voice without feeling pain or feeling like it's hard, you know, and that's true. You can really do that. It's like, it's tough, but you really can. And I think having the mentality of voice training is hard makes it harder. I think if you have the mentality of voice training is easy, dysphoria is a bitch, that's a much healthier mindset, because you realize that the mechanical task of what we're doing is real. It's tangible. You can do it. It's not out of your reach. It's not this impossible goal. The dysphoria makes it feel impossible. The dysphoria makes it feel further than what it really is. That's the hard part. You know, and I feel like there's so much discussion about technique and about like that, and often this important facet and gemstone of psychology is grossly under discussed, even by me, you know, but I feel hesitant to talk about all this stuff because, right, when somebody comes to do a lesson with me, They want techniques and stuff. They want to know how they can get their voice passing. They don't want to hear me tell them, well, maybe you should look internally and try to, that's like a therapist's job. And, I'm totally fine to play the role of therapist with my students who need it. But at the same time, I feel a pressure in my lessons and in my videos to not talk about these topics just because I get the sense that people have an intrinsic belief that the techniques are more valuable than the psychology and the mentality behind it, even though I would argue that they are equally important. Yeah, Vivian, that's really hard. And by the way, tonight, a little bit later, after this, I'm going to eat, going to sit down around like 5 p.m., 6 p.m. I'm going to start going through the files that you sent me. So I will be sending you some feedback. So hopefully that can help you give some progress that can be gauged. I know you sent it a little bit ago, but it's been really hard finding the time until I made a whole day off to do Patreon stuff. So that's kind of what I'm doing right now. But yeah, I'll make sure that I give you some thorough feedback for sure. I'm glad that you think so, Sam. The human element. Yeah, exactly. Right. Especially in software, like you said, there's a lot of software is designed in a way that almost avoids the human element, What would I say to students who are contemplating vocal surgery after years of doing vocal practice and they're thinking about giving up? A lot of things. It depends on the context, I guess. But, well, first off, I deeply believe in the right of body autonomy. So if somebody wanted to get vocal surgery and their mind's set on it, I wouldn't tell them anything. I would make sure that they know the risks and the results and what's actually occurring and stuff. If they were a student, I would make sure that they know the risks or whatever. But, as an individual, like if you want to manipulate your body however you want, like if you want to manipulate it and change a feature, change these things, that's you, do it. I'm going to change a lot more about my body by the time I die. Ideally, I would like to have little robot feet. That would be cool. Or just whatever. So, but now on the voice level, taking it into the realm of my expertise of voice normalization and stuff, I would think that if somebody has practiced for years and not gotten any results and now they're contemplating surgery, my first reaction would be, hold on. Before you shell out a couple $1,000s, just pay me like $200. Let's just talk a little bit. Just talk just a little bit. Let me see what I can do for you. I say that to my friends who are dealing with vocal surgery questions too. At least give it a shot. Okay, because I think a lot of those people, they work with unqualified teachers. I see a lot of people, in fact, I get a lot of emails that say this. Hello, Ziana. I've been working with my speech-language pathologist for 2 years now. My voice has barely changed. I'm honestly so depressed and so crushed about my voice. Everything in my transition has moved forward except my voice. But yet I'm working with a professional and I'm not getting any results. I think it's impossible for me to feminize my voice, and I'm thinking about getting surgery. However, I saw your videos and you have inspired me that maybe it is possible. Maybe I just have the wrong techniques. So I get that a lot. And then I work with those students and then their voice starts changing and then they're so happy that they didn't, So I think that not all education is equal, not even remotely close. There's literally just bad education. And I think that the overwhelming majority of voice feminization teachers are really bad. And, I think that if someone's contemplating surgery, it sounds terrible though, because I can't say that to people because then it sounds like I'm shilling my service and I'm trying to sell, look, I don't need to sell my lessons anymore. I've got a 350 person wait list and I've got students out to February. So it's not even about saying, come work with me. It's more like I genuinely believe that I can feminize anybody's voice, or anybody can feminize their own voice with the correct instruction. And so it's a hard spot for me. I see so many people who are going and getting vocal surgery. And you know what? I'll just tell you this. I have a lot of friends who are very deep in transition, several years, 5, 10, 15, 20 years. And I have two of my closest friends have gotten VFS. They went to Yisan. and they still are unhappy with their voice, and they still make jokes. They always make jokes like, we're gonna just do zebra lessons instead. They made a joke once that after they work with me and their voices are really good, then they're gonna send the audio files to Yisan and be like, put these on your website, and like Yisan will put them on the website and be like, haha, they put Z's voice lessons on. Like, it's a joke. It's not gonna be like that. But like, it highlights like these. My close friends have had vocal surgery and still are unsatisfied with their voice, and always make jokes about like, oh, like I should have just saved myself a bunch of money, got a lip lift, and take lessons of Z. Like, then it'd be a lot easier. Like, I don't think vocal surgery really gets anybody what they really want for the most part. I think there's some people who have very low, like, their bars, like they just want something remotely more androgynous, so it works. There's James Thomas, who does laryngeal modification and pharyngeal constriction. That can change the resonance, but that surgery rate's got like a 50% get. It's like a gamble. Like, half his results are like pretty decent. Actually, like 25% of his results are really good. 25 are okay, and like 50% are just bad. And then you look at Yisan. I mean, they're basically just suturing the vocal folds closer together so that you have slightly less vocal fold mass, which then drives the fundamental higher. That's not going to make you sound more female, because the R1 is still going to be the same value it was. Sometimes people get vocal surgery that changes the fundamental, and then they naturally change the R1 to match that fundamental. It's not really the common outcome, though. There's Dr. Haben, who just does web glottoplasty. I mean, there's glottoplasty, there's the Yisan glottoplasty version, and then there's James Thomas, who does laryngeal and pharyngeal modifications, which are the best possible surgical approach to trying to get a female voice. But, I mean, the complications rate is so high. So that's what I would say I don't know, it's hard. Like, I'm not going to tell anyone not to get surgery, but at the same time, it's like, biologically, to me, I can't see a reason for surgery. There's really an incredibly tiny sliver of the very bottom of the Gaussian distribution that maybe biologically can't make a female voice. I don't even believe that. I have not seen one yet, but I'm going to open the possibility of that, of course, because, ruling it out would be pretty irresponsible. But I mean, the overwhelming majority of people can do this without surgical intervention. So like, it serves to follow, anesthesia has risk, these surgeries have risk. They don't really provide the result that people kind of want, whereas voice training can. I don't know. I kind of stay out of VFS discussions. Surgery just raises pitch. Yeah, basically. I mean, there's so many people that I see like that, It's so. I feel a lot of people trust the authority of a professional too much and don't make. I know. I feel that way too, Vivian. It's crazy. It's crazy. It's crazy town. It boggles my mind. People trust doctors so much. You know what transition taught me more than anything else? Is that doctors don't know what they're talking about. I mean, they know their expertise and they got their general behavior. No, the opinion of a doctor means about as much to me as, well, it means more. I weigh the opinion of a doctor more heavily. But, I don't take their word as the law. Like, I know more about HRT than any doctor I've ever worked with. And I think most trans women know more about HRT than any doctor they've ever worked with. So, like, that shows me, like, these people can have the title doctor and not know what they're talking about. Now, that doesn't mean they all don't know. I mean, it's not an attack on all doctors. It just means that you can have the title doctor and basically be clueless about what you're talking about, It's like, it's really weird when you start to think about it that way. Because, like, I mean, doctors write people in America Spiro when drugs like cypertron acetate and bicalutamide exist. Why are we giving people poison when we can take Cipro? I mean, Cipro is not great for your liver, like, super long term. But at least you get a dose like 25 milligrams instead of like 150. Like, they don't care about that stuff. I mean, the FDA is the reason why we don't have CTA in America. I know that. But, like, once again, it's like, doctors do no harm. Well, why would... I don't... There's just a lot about that. And, I see this with speech language pathologists. This is the issue with the speech pathologist model. They go to college. Let's think about the approach that a speech language pathologist gets when they go to do their job, okay? They go to university, undergrad. They study maybe linguistics, phonetics. No, almost never phonetics, by the way. So let's not give them that much credit. So, they study like general linguistics. Maybe that's what their undergrad's in. Maybe their undergrad's in speech pathology. whatever. Maybe it's in basic medicine. They go into like general medicine, or like, what's it called, pre-med. Maybe they do pre-med. Maybe they do speech pathology. Maybe they do speech pathology. Maybe they do linguistics, right? Okay, that's their background at first. Then they go in to get their master's. What do they study in master's? They say, I'm a speech pathologist. And they go in their field. And they learn all the literature of their field, which is about pathologizing speech disorders, remediating speech health issues, which they're actually really good at that. If you have a vocal health disorder, go to a speech pathologist. That's what they'll help you with. They're really good at that. That's what they do. And they know a lot about it. So that's what you do with them. So they train in that stuff. They read their books. That's what they do. They read their books. In their master's, they say, all right, to get your master's degree, you have to finish this paper. You have to contribute to the field of science, right? So they're like, okay, what do I want to contribute? They sit around. They've studied pre-med, or they've studied linguistics, or they've studied speech pathology. They've read the papers in their books and in their academics. Are they voice experts? Have they actually changed their voice? Have they even learned about acoustics? Have they even learned about character voices? Have they even learned to sing? Have they learned to use their voice in any meaningful capacity? Or have they just sat there with a book and paper the entire time, learning stuff from their courses without actually applying it in their life? Well, for the most case, of course, there's always exceptions to the rule. For the most case, it's going to be that. That's true of most academic fields, right? Like if you're studying science, it's unlikely you've got a science lab at home that you're building. But the best scientists, they do have a home lab, Like for me, I have a home lab. It's my body. I can create whatever sounds I want. For music, I've got a home lab. It's called my piano, You should always, whatever you study in college, you should always try to do that outside of college. I feel like so many people get absorbed in this idea. They go to university, get their degree, and they're supposed to magically end up in their career field succeeding, right? No, you do what you study what you love, so that you spend all your time growing in that field and deeply connecting to it. But anyways, so speech pathologists. So they do that, then they end up getting their master's, and they go and they get their PhD, and they do basically the same thing again. Does that at all teach them how to change their voice? No. But now they've completed their college education. They have the title doctor. They have a PhD. They studied pre-med, so they have some imbuement of medical licensing. They're supported by insurance, which further imbues what they're doing as a medical authority. Then they say, well, we want to help trans women change their voice. How in any capacity did the decade of training they just do prepare them to help people change the gender of their voice at all? And then it's like, well, you could say, well, they studied it, and that's what their PhD was in. Okay, so they did their PhD for 2 to 4 years, right? 5 years, maybe, if you're like really slow. Whatever. 2 to 4 years, you did your PhD. And you were the whole time you were focused on trans voice stuff, but you're a cis person. And you read from top to bottom all the literature in the field. Well, guess what? Sorry, your literature is like 20 years out of date. Your literature is inherently biased by the fact that you're having people read sample texts, both in speech. You're bringing people into a lab and do like a college classroom. That's what they would do. Bring them into a college classroom, sit them down, have them speak naturally, whatever natural speech is. But then again, the moment you have somebody come into the classroom, when you hit record, they are no longer talking natural. They have code switched into I'm being recorded, or they have code switched into I'm reading a piece of paper. So all the data that these people are like parsing through is like somewhat colored on its own, despite the fact that they can't even do their own experimental discovery. See, in physics, correct me if I'm wrong, Lynn, I think you're still lurking here. In physics, you've got the experimental physicists, and then you have the theoretical physicists. And the theoretical physicists, they'd spend all this crazy time, they just push the field forward. They make up all this crazy shit that's probably not real. And then the experimental physicists, they go, bingo, let's experiment with that and try and prove that. Look, that doesn't exist in speech pathology. There are no experimental speech pathologists. There are no theoretical speech pathologists versus experimental. And so what you end up with is like a middle position where like the person's like kind of does research and kind of tries to prove their research, instead of like two clearly defined aspects of the field. Like these people are like so into theory, they're trying to just push it as far as possible. And then you've got the experimentalists who prove whether what these people are trying to say is true or not. I feel like for me, the reason why I'm in a different position with my voice is because I am both a theorist and an experimentalist. Like I come up with theories inside my brain, and then I sit here in front of my computer and I experiment with my mouth until I determine if what I thought was true or not. Right? Self-contained. I'm my own little subject. It's very easy. And the speech pathologists, they don't get that route. They don't get to do that. And so, I don't know. That's my take on that. So, yeah, I don't know. Yes, exactly. See, Lynn, exactly. But I mean, how many times have you like, how many times have you like thought about like an experimental speech pathology? I don't think that that's even a thing. What do they experiment? They come up, they instead like, their results are only from observation. Speech pathology. They record people's voices and then they try to make statements and observations about the voice. Right? Which is okay. I mean, observational science is important. But there is a certain pioneering that observational science can't do. You have to, at some point, depart from the observation and try to make conjectures about things that you don't even know exist, and then determine if those things can be observed or not. Right? So it's, I don't know. That's a really interesting thought. I think I articulated that well. I think this live stream has been really good. So I'm gonna, yeah, I'm gonna publish this one on the Patreon for all the supporters and stuff. You know, the other ones I was going to do, I'm still planning on it. Maybe I'll make a master list of them, but I don't know. I watched them and stuff, and I was kind of a little disheveled, like kind of a little messy, and my glitches, and you know, this is like a legit stream though that we did today. So I'm pretty proud of how it turned out, and I'm pretty proud of what all we've covered. I think we've hit tons of points. I mean, we talked about technique a little bit. We talked about resonance a bit. We talked about emotional stuff. We talked about behavioral stuff. We talked about like sciencey stuff. We talked about, you know, philosophy of this stuff. Yeah, I think it's been really good. Good. That's excellent, Vivian. I recommend all my students who are experience these extrinsic tensions that they should watch themselves in a mirror when they practice. Now, this can be dysphoria inducing. So I don't even mean like watching them. I mean just like you can take like a mirror like this and like not even watch your face per se, but just like your neck or your shoulders. You got to make sure your neck's not banding out like that. That's your SCM tensing. You got to make sure that your I see people eyebrow raising. I don't know. Eyebrow raise, face crinkle. Like, watch how nothing change. Like when I do my R1 shift. Listen to it. Watch how nothing moves here. Look. Okay. See, that's it. My shoulders didn't go up. My eyebrows didn't go up. My lips barely moved. The lips will move. What does it mean to tense the SCM? The SCM is a really important muscle that stabilizes your neck. It's called the steroidocleidomastoid. It's basically a muscle that runs from like here, like behind the ear, all the way down the neck. It connects to the sternum, sternum, cleidomastoid. So it's this muscle here, these bands that you can see, a muscle fiber, that all the way up. That's your SCM. And sometimes students will, I can't even do it myself. Sometimes students will go like, I don't know how to tense my SCM. It's actually like nigh impossible for me. So, but you just don't want that. It's one of those things that make you feel like your neck is like blasting out, your veins are popping out. That's like you flexing the SCM. Also, that can happen if the vocal folds close too hard and you start to like asphyxiate yourself. But I doubt that's the one you do. Okay, so I'm actually gonna hop off here, I think. You know, I was going to do like some music and do a little lesson thing, but you know, I mean, we've been doing Q&A for almost 2 hours and I was wanting to go for an hour and a half. So I think it's time to wrap up. Yeah. Oh, if you want, Vivian, try to record that sample and send it over tonight so I can get your feedback on your newest sample. I'll give you feedback on the one that you've already sent me already, but you know, like you, yeah, but if you want like up-to-date feedback on where you are, like just go ahead and sneak another one in my DMs and I'll get to it later tonight, okay? Thank you all so much. This was so much fun. I'm glad we didn't have any glitches, no weird echoes, no weird lag. Thank you so much for coming to my October patron stream. Remember, we will be doing a video stream like this every month, and we will be doing a Discord voice hangout every month. I haven't figured out because just so that we have both a YouTube hangout and a voice hangout. My next voice hangout will, you know, sometimes I sneak in and just, you know, sometimes I just sneak in and like the voice chat and hang out without announcing it. But next official voice Discord hangout, not sure the date. I'll announce that soon. The video hangouts will be towards the end of every month. The voice hangouts will sort of be in the middle, like second week of every month. Okay. Or voice hangout second week, video hangout fourth week of each month. Patron feedback, I try to do on the days where I do those. I was trying to do them like when I got them, but like that's just a whole nother box of stress. So it's much easier to compartmentalize it and open that box up when I'm doing my patron day, you know, and like I dedicate a whole day to like doing my patron stuff, and then I can like it's more fun for me. So it's kind of where I'm at with everything right now. Thank you all so much, and thanks for watching. Let me click. Wait, how do I even end stream? Okay, thank you so much. I don't know how to end this thing. No, okay, wait, hold on. Okay, wait, here we go. Thank you all so much. It's been a sincere pleasure. Take care. Signing off for now.